Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks Podcast. I am Sam. That is Mike. And today we have another installment of our top 10 Seahawks players of all time. We did number 9 last time. That was Cam Chancellor. If you missed out on the previous 2 episodes, go check that out. I dropped a little Easter egg at the end. If you're a true Seahawks fan, you know what that was. Number 8 is Mr. Beast Mode himself, Marshawn Lynch. Love him. Arguably the most fan favorite Seahawk of all time. Yeah, I'd say so. I mean,
he's just a cool dude. Everybody loves Marshawn.
Yeah, I don't think that nobody really dislikes Marshawn. Maybe besides Saints and Cardinals fans, but we'll touch on that in a second. So our criteria,
maybe Pete Carroll's not a Marshawn fan.
Our criteria is impact, as in winning, and like long-term impact to the team. Then there's like team impact, which is, how much impact you make on the culture and the team's legacy and your legacy with the team. And then we have stats and team records. So for criteria for, team legacy, come on, this is like the check. Just to keep
straight
checking.
A student right here.
Keep checking until there's no more space on the paper, because Marshawn Lynch, he has maybe the best run in NFL history, in my personal opinion, in the Beastquake, where he broke like 9 tackles versus the Saints. Literally, the fans got so loud it measured on the Richter scale. I feel like that's kind of crazy. Like,
you want to talk about impact?
The ground was shaking.
Yes, Marshawn registered an earthquake.
Yeah,
by running. Keep that in mind. Marshawn Lynch registered an earthquake by running with the football in his hands. If you want to talk about impact, that's as big as you can get.
Yeah, and obviously he's had so iconic moments, so many iconic things about him. Skittle eating on the sideline, just like a madman. He'd be throwing up on the sideline because he would eat Skittles, and they have tons of sugar, and you're not supposed to eat sugar or drink like sugar during games.
Yeah,
he would throw up, and then he'd go back and eat more Skittles. That's kind of that's how he was. He was full of energy, like on the sideline with his teammates, but infamous. I guess kind of famous with everybody else, but infamous with reporters for not talking to reporters. And
he did not like reporters at all.
Obviously he had the iconic, I'm just here so I won't get fined at the Super Bowl press conference. He had all about that action, boss. He had the press conference where he answered every question with yeah.
I remember that. He's like, they say Joey from Friends is the one-liner king. Nah, dude, it's Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah,
he got way better one-liners.
Yeah.
So I did want to talk really quick about, before we get into his stats, which obviously are good, as you guys know. I want really quick wanted to share my personal Marshawn Lynch story. So I don't know if you guys, he talked about the Beastquake against the Saints. There was the run called the Beastquake 2.0 that he had against the Cardinals. I was actually at that game, and at the beginning of the game, Marshawn Lynch was not on the field, and we were like, "What's going on? Like, where's Marshawn Lynch?" There were whispers that he was injured, whatever, and we're all confused. During a TV timeout, I'm not making this up, I see Marshawn Lynch, he's on the sideline, rips open a bag of Skittles, downs them, is chewing them as he's jogging on the field, and then like a drive later has that amazing run. And the report was that we found out after the game that he was having like a vicious stomach virus. And so, as any normal human being would do, when you have a vicious stomach virus, you just down half a bag of Skittles.
Yeah, as everyone does. It's like the old mother's tale. Everybody knows to just like down sugary foods whenever you have a serious stomach ache. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then he just goes out and just demolishes the Cardinals' defense in one of the greatest runs. I thought he stepped out of bounds when he was running on the sideline. I sat down and I see everybody like, "Wow!" And I'm like, "What's going on?" He's just tiptoeing down the sideline, runs. Then he crotch grabs, jumps in the end zone.
I was going to say, you want to talk about cultural impact for the Seahawks? The crotch grab is one of the best.
I was
best like pre-end zone. Like Deshaun Jackson has that thing where he falls back in the end zone. Personally, I'm taking the crotch grab any day. Like
crotch grab is so. But that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, because he was sick and then he just downed Skittles, went out, ran, and then grabbed his crotch on the way to the end zone. It was one of the coldest things I've ever seen in my life.
So another quick story about Marshawn Lynch before I go into his stats and we wrap his whole profile up is that if you're a real Seahawks fan, you'll remember the day. It was a playoff game like any other, and it was a very interesting game because the Seahawks were losing, something that the Seahawks were not used to. Were not used to doing at the time. They really weren't. It was January 18th, and they were down by a lot again versus the Green Bay Packers. And something happens. Russ throws a touchdown. Just like that's a one-possession game. We get an onside kick from a Foot Locker employee like a month before.
Yeah.
And then Marshawn Lynch has one of the best runs in Seahawks history. It was only like a 20-yard untouched touchdown run, but that run had so much impact, as in it gave the Seahawks the lead in that championship game where the Seahawks came back, and it's one of the best games in Seahawks history. So, that's just a very significant moment for me.
I have a hypothetical question. Hypothetical question. So right now we have Marshawn Lynch at 8, right? Legacy, check. Impact, check. Stats is pretty good. Not as good as the other two, I'd say. He's at 8 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetical scenario where we ran the ball and he scored the game winner and we win that Super Bowl.
He'd move up a spot
To
probably
I'd
7.
say he's at least 6.
Yeah, I mean, game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. That's
because then think about that. He would have been the leading back for all of those years. Won back-to-back Super Bowls. Scored the game winner in one of those.
Yeah,
he might be and then maybe he doesn't retire that early.
Well, I think he retired. I think he retired because he had a hernia, but
and he came out of it. By the way, last thing I'll say. I remember being in middle school. I was sitting in health class, and I got the notification that Marshawn Lynch retired. He retired by hanging up his cleats on an electric pole. I'll never forget that. Like one of those.
That picture is one of the saddest pictures in Seahawks history.
Yeah,
it's it's the same gold cleats that he wore in the NFC Championship versus Green Bay, and he threw them up.
Yeah,
and I got so sad. That picture hurt a lot.
That did.
Because that was just after we lost to Carolina too.
Yeah,
it was rough.
But
we
have Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, we quickly have to touch on his stats, of course.
Yes.
Acquired by the Seahawks in 2010, where he had the Beastquake run, acquired from Buffalo. From 2011 to 2014, 4 straight 1,200-plus yard seasons with also 11-plus touchdowns in every season. In 2012, his best season by far. First-team All-Pro and Pro Bowler. 26 years old, had 1,590 yards, 11 touchdowns. I mean, man is a machine. He was always so great, and he was always so consistent, and just one of the best power runners in NFL history. Beast mode, Marshawn Lynch is number 8. If y'all want to argue with this, I think there's a viable argument that you could say Shaun Alexander is better because of his stats. He kind of dominates in the stats, but I just think cultural impact is too high to not have Marshawn above Shaun Alexander.
Honestly, Shaun Alexander, love him, didn't do anything for the culture. He didn't impact the community. He was a great football player. Marshawn Lynch impacted the community. We have great memories of Marshawn Lynch doing Marshawn Lynch things.
Yeah, he came back for us when we needed him most. He came back, and I mean, that was great. That was fantastic.
That touchdown against the 49ers was satisfying.
Very satisfying.
Just, again, doesn't have the stats of Shaun Alexander, but the impact and the legacy is just way too high for him to be below. So that's our number 8. Stay tuned for next episode where we talk about number 7. And
who is, I believe, our first Hall of Famer on the list, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, first Hall of Famer on the list.
For sure, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, right. First current Hall of Famer.
Yes.
On the list. Yep.
So make sure to make sure to subscribe, comment what your opinions are. Make sure to check out our podcast on Anchor. Sam, anything you want to say before we take off?
I don't have anything else to add. Marshawn Lynch is personally my favorite Seahawks player of all time, just in my heart. So, yeah. See you guys next time.
See you next time. Peace.